ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا ومطاعنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال تعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حاميم تنزيل الكتاب من الله العزيز العليم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب شديد العقاب ذي الطول لا إله إلا هو إليه المصير. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم أيد الإسلام بعمر بن هشام أو بعمر بن الخطاب رضي الله تعالى عنه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. يا ربي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. Respected ulama kiram, respected elders, beloved brothers, Allah has blessed us with this beautiful deen, and Allah has made us from the ummah of His beloved alayhi salatu wassalam. And our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, وَكَانَ النَّبِيُّ يُبْعَثُ إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِ خَاصَّةً. Every Nabi was sent to a specific tribe, a specific region, and a specific area. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is sent for humanity in totality. All times, all regions, all colors, all races, all people. His nubuwwah transcends all bounds, alayhi salatu wassalam. As his ummah, why is this ummah so special? Allah says in the Quran Kareem about the Bani Israel, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا لَمَّا صَبَرُوا. From the previous we chose from them those who will lead and guide the people due to patience in them. لَمَّا صَبَرُوا. Like Allama Ibn Kathir says here, وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. So بِالصَّبْرِ وَالْيَقِينِ تُنَالُ الْإِمَامَةُ فِي الدِّينِ. With patience and conviction, one has this responsibility. But there the discussion is Bani Israel. What about this ummah? With regards to this ummah, Allah addresses the whole ummah. Kuntum khayra ummah. You are the best of all nations. You are taken out to benefit all mankind. So I want to discuss a few historical events in this month of Dhul Hijjah, keeping forward a very important event that you and I have been blessed with. Number one, let's start with Hazrat Umar radiyallahu anhu. It was the 6th year after Hijrah, and Hazrat Umar was marching. Where was he going to? It was the month Dhul Hijjah. 3 days prior to this, Hazrat Hamza got Hidayat. 3 days later, Hazrat Umar gets Hidayat. But how did he get Hidayat? Few events happened in his life. From here we learn a lesson, that things happen in a person's life through which Allah gives a person Hidayat. Hazrat Umar is marching to assassinate Rasulullah. He was enraged, he was infuriated, he was upset. But let's rewind. When Rasulullah started giving dawat, and many embraced Islam, and many were on deen and in the effort of deen, the center of Islam at that time was, the markaz was Arqam radiyallahu anhu's home. How Allah chooses people's home. Allah chose this Sahabi, who's leading the force of Batil, Abu Jahl. Hazrat Arqam came from the same family of Abu Jahl, Banu Makhzum. So there, Ta'aleem is taking place, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is shaping his ummah, the Sahaba kiram radiyallahu anhum. Few things happened to Hazrat Umar. At first, what inspired him was, when the Muslims were tortured for Islam, they were still so resilient. This inspired him. So many a time he was torturing a certain person, his relative or someone in Makkah, to leave Islam. That individual said, Umar, do what you like. Our Islam will stay with us. We have Iman. We'll die with Iman. Hazrat Umar kept on torturing that individual until he said, you know what? I'm leaving you now. Not because I'm taking pity on you. I'm tired now. It so happened that one day, Hazrat Umar had an agreement with his friends that they're going to meet at a certain place and indulge in alcohol. None of them made it. Ajib how Allah made it happen. There Hazrat Umar didn't want to go home. He said, let me go via the Kaaba. When he comes by the Kaaba, our beloved was performing tahajjud. So Hazrat Umar says, I hid inside the curtain of the Kaaba. And whilst I was inside, I'm going towards the direction of the whereabouts of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I'm hiding inside the Kaaba. And Allah's Nabi is reciting. He said Allah's Nabi was facing Kaaba and he was facing Baytul Maqdis. And Hazrat Umar is concealing himself inside the curtain of the Kaaba. And then he says, Allah's Nabi was reading this chapter, Al-Haqqah. What an amazing chapter of the Quran Kareem. Al-Haqqah. Mal-Haqqah. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْحَاقَّةُ. The Quran Kareem is so beautiful. Hazrat Umar is listening and he's becoming so inspired. At the end, the rhythm, the beauty, the meaning, the discussion of Judgment Day, the discussion of the previous nations, when they defied, what happened to them, what was the outcome, how Anbiya gave them dawat. Then this chapter discusses Judgment Day. Those who would receive their books in the right hand, what will happen to them? فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. What happens to them? And then he listens to those who receive their books of deeds in the left hand. And this was so inspirational for him. And then he wondered, he says, I was wondering, is this poetry? These thoughts were crossing my mind. Then the next verse he recites, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, وَمَا بِقَوْلِ شَاعِرٍ قَلِيلًا مَا تُؤْمِنُونَ. These are not the words of a poet. Hazrat Umar is shocked. I am just thinking Quran is responding. Respected Ummah, this is miraculous about the Quran Kareem. You're facing some difficulty in life, some challenge, some worry, some pain, depression, whoever it is in the world. Open the Quran. See the verse your eye falls on. Is an inspiration. The Quran speaks to you. Try, encourage non-Muslims also who are looking for the truth. So he says, I'm wondering, is this poetry? No, it's not. Because the next verse then, because Hazrat Umar was thinking, could this then be magic? Because how does he know what I am thinking? Then he recites the next verse. وَلَا بِقَوْلِ كَاهٍ قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Neither are these the words of a magician. Little do you take lesson. Hazrat Umar is shocked. He is thinking Quran is responding. Then he is wondering, what is this then? تَنْزِيلٌ مِّن رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. This is revelation from Allah, Rabbul Alameen. And then the last part of the discussion is, this Quran can never be fabricated. No matter who it is that may fabricate anything and attribute it to the Quran, what will Allah do to them? That's the last discussion. Hazrat Umar says, through hearing this recital, the seeds of Islam were sowed in my heart. This was where Islam permeated and penetrated deep down. But he wasn't yet ready to become Muslim, but he was still inspired. There was a relative of Hazrat Umar, her name was Layla bint Abi Hathma. So she was packing. So Hazrat Umar passed her area and he asked her, what's the matter? She comes from the Banu Adi. She says, Umar, we packing. He says, why? Where are you going to? She says, we had enough of you people. You don't want us to practice our deen. He says, you're going to leave Makkah because we don't allow you to practice. She said, yes, our deen is more important to us. Then she was shocked. Hazrat Umar softened. He says, may Allah take you. Did you know what we're doing to these good people? Anyway, when her husband, whose name was Amir bin Rabi'a, Adawi, Amir returns. She says to her husband, you know what happened? Umar made a turn here and this is what he said. So Amir is telling her that, do you think in your mind that Umar can become Muslim? She says, indeed, I really feel so. He says to her, you know what, maybe Khattab's donkey would become Muslim, but not Umar. This was how far it was fathomed that this individual would never. And now 6 years gone by, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is dedicated, giving dawat. Hazrat Abu Bakr giving dawat, Hazrat Talha, Hazrat Abu Ubaidah, Hazrat Uthman, Hazrat Ali, Hazrat Zubair. Effort is taking place. The center of Islam is Darul Arqam, from the Sahabiyat, Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha. But who was those who embraced Islam early? In the early stages. was Fatima bintul Khattab. She was already Muslim, but Umar didn't know fully. Her husband was Hazrat Umar's relative. He was also Adawi, Adi, Sa'id. Remember him? He's Ashara Mubashara. Very few know him. Sa'id bin Zayd bin Amr bin Nufail. Now imagine, we must make dua for our children. His father Zayd bin Amr bin Nufail was an amazing man despite the times of Jahiliyyah. He used to stand by the Kaaba. He used to tell the Meccan people, the sheep you slaughtering, Allah made it. Allah sent water. Allah gave it grass. Allah provided for you with such bounties, and you slaughter the sheep and you utter other than Allah's name. What is wrong with you? Ashatu khalaqaha Allah. And then they would say, you denouncing the creed of our forefathers. He would say, Adinun wahidun am alf rabbun wahidun am alfu rabbin adinu idha taqassamatil judud. He says, one Allah. That is so clear. How can you worship thousand and many? Allah does everything for us, and you want me to turn to other than Him? No, my Allah is one. In Jahiliyyah, Zayd was giving this dawat. Another quality of Zayd, if anyone had a daughter, he used to visit them, and he would verify the situation. If they were to slaughter their daughter and sacrifice and bury her alive, or whichever way, he would implore them that don't do this. This is Allah's creation. Allah blessed you with this child. And if they refused, fearing the stigma of the society, he would bid them that give the child to me. I will care for her. And like this, he nurtured many, many little children. Zayd bin Amr bin Nufail. And he was traveling to Syria looking for the truth. He gave so many people. He said to Amir, the same person who I mentioned a few minutes ago, he said to Amir that, you know what? The final Nabi of Allah is coming. And he's going to come from here. This is what I studied. If I don't meet him and Allah doesn't give me that opportunity, convey my salams to him. Anyway, he traveled to Syria and he wanted to study more. The seniors, priests, they told him, this is the time of the arrival of the final Nabi of Allah. What are you doing here in our lands? You have to go there. And he returns. And then he was attacked by these highway robbers. And he was then, Allahu Akbar, whatever he had was usurped. He was tortured. And as he's breathing his last, look at his dua. He says, oh my Allah, you know how badly I want to meet your beloved Muhammad ﷺ. But if you don't give me this opportunity, Allah, I beseech of thee, فَلَا تَحْرِمْ مِنْهُ ibni Sa'idan. Allah, I beg you, don't deprive my son Sa'id. That is why Hazrat Sa'id bin Zayd bin Amr bin Nufail wedded Fatima bintul Khattab, and the couple were practicing Islam. This is why there's a fikr that we have to make for our children, for our youth, for our families. This is what the istimā is about. How can we get hidayat? How can our children get hidayat? How can they get protected from the effects of the forces of batil? It starts from the pain of the father. Zayd is dying. He's crying for his son. He didn't make it back to Makkah. His son becomes Ashara Mubashara. Before Sahaba established the markaz in Arqam's home, already Sa'id was Muslim. Umar is stopped now. Hazrat Umar is charging. So we go back to where we started in the beginning of this discussion. Hazrat Umar is charging to assassinate Rasulullah ﷺ, sword in hand. Nu'aym sees him. He realizes something fishy here. Where are you off to, Umar? He says, I had enough. I have to end this off. The conflict in Makkah. So Hazrat Umar had goodness deep down, but he was enticed by the wrong company before his Islam. How important is company? He was actually mustering up the courage and the guts to carry out this dastardly deed. Hazrat Nu'aym stopped him. Where you think you off to? He said, oh, you also. He says, leave that. Start in your own household. When Hazrat Umar heard that, he charges, because Nu'aym told him. Hazrat Nu'aym had to protect Rasulullah ﷺ first. That's the ultimate. Umar charges in the direction of his brother-in-law and his sister. And as he arrives there, Ta'aleem is taking place in that home. They are learning Quran. They are learning Deen. This is how important it is for you and I to establish halaqah of ta'aleem in our homes. father and son, mother and daughter, whole family together, Quran, Sunnah, lives of Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, that will protect the environment of the home, that will save our children. Otherwise, click, clock, tick, tock, down, up and down. Then the only time you will see your children is when the electricity goes and there's no more link and there's no more Wi-Fi. Then slowly they'll come and knock the parents' door. Now they're sitting there. They want to switch it on. That's the only time. And what they're being indoctrinated with, it's toxic. It's destructive. Different emotions, different sentiments, ruining the mind. And then it goes into filth and goes into nudity and goes into whatever is intended to be fed in that innocent ma'soom mind. What's the protection? This ta'aleem in the home. Hazrat Umar, cutting a long story short, he says to his sister, tell me, what were you all doing? His sister then concealed the Quranic Kareem scriptures beneath her. That's another discussion why. It was to protect it. Otherwise it's not permissible in normal circumstances. He goes for his brother-in-law Sa'id from the same family. He says, what are you all doing? And he grabs him and he throws him to the ground. Hazrat Fatima comes to help her husband. In that, Hazrat Umar mistakenly hurts her and his blow was severe. When he noticed blood from her, his heart softened. She said to him, Umar, do what you like. Our Iman is priority. We live with Iman. We die with Iman. This was the words of Hazrat Umar's sister. This is what inspired Hazrat Umar. He says, show me the scriptures. Then she brought it after he cleaned himself and after reading those verses. Allahu Akbar. The first 14 verses of Taha, Ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashqa illa tadhkiratan liman yakhsha tanzilan mimman khalaqa al-arda was-samawati al-ula ar-Rahman ala al-arsh istawa lahu ma fi as-samawat wa ma fi al-ard wa ma baynahuma wa ma tahta ath-thara wa in tajhar bil-qawl fa innahu ya'lamu as-sirra wa akhfa Allahu la ilaha illa hu lahu al-asma' الحسنى till وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. Hazrat Umar says, take me, dulluni ala Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Take me to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's crystal clear to me. Hazrat Khabbab was hiding in a closet in the pantry, and as he comes out, he says, Umar, I must give you glad tidings. Last night, Allah's beloved took your name and made dua for you. This is what it is. Dawat, dua, dawat, dua, dawat, dua. This is our work. This is what the Ijtima is to teach us as an ummah. The same Umar, Hazrat Abdullah bin Mas'ud says, honor came into us from the time of the Islam of Hazrat Umar. We could practice Allah's deen openly. This was the jalal of Hazrat Umar. From that Dhul Hijjah 6th year, Islam was practiced openly. Dawat was given openly. Hazrat Umar on the one side, Hazrat Hamza on the other side. What happened at the time of Hijrah? Hazrat Umar, there's different views. Hazrat Umar goes by the Kaaba. He told his satis, we'll meet at Tanadub at this time. And then he said to the Meccan society, if you want to meet me, I am going for Allah. You want to lose your children, or if you want your wife to be widowed, or your children to be orphaned, meet me at this valley. That was it. Then goes to meet his satis at Tanadub. As they met there were supposed to be three. Hazrat Umar, Ayyash, and the third was Hisham bin As, Amr bin As's brother. The three of them were supposed to meet there. Hazrat Umar and Ayyash meet. Ayyash is Abu Jahl's brother. Ajib how Allah gives hidayat. Anyway, they decided that we're leaving because Hisham was captured and locked up in the dungeon as they're making hijrah. Look how the forces of Batil make effort. Abu Jahl realizes his brother is gone for deen. He prepares someone and they go behind his brother. They finally reach Hazrat Umar, and few other satis had joined Hazrat Umar. There were about 20. They finally reach Quba. Abu Jahl comes there pretending to be innocent. Look how they use their stealthily tongue, slithery, slimy tongue. He says, Ayyash, your mother has taken a vow. She's going to suffer. She won't take shelter. She's going to die and you're going to be blamed. She has taken a vow that you have to come back. Hazrat Umar says to Ayyash, come here, let me talk to you. Your iman is more important. Don't go. They're tricking you. If your mother is hungry, she's going to eat. She's going to go inside the house and she'll comb her hair. She'll take shelter. don't go back. There's a sinister plan here. Ayyash says, you know what, Umar, my money is there also. I'll make a plan. I'll bring that also. Ajib how? Where the mind goes to stop us from going for Allah. Prepare Jamaat to go for a few days. That one weekend, there's a wedding. Another weekend, family gathering. Those weekends, everything will happen. Remember, the day you have to go and we have to go in the path of Allah. That whole week, this call, wife needs this, that one needs that. Appointment will come up. Shaitan can't bear it that this person must go in the path of Allah. Because when he goes, he becomes a better person. He spends that night in the masjid. Allahu Akbar, there was a Jamaat here a few days ago. One was teacher Sahab. 50 years teaching experience. Allah bless him. He was telling us 40 years ago he was in Dandi. Bhai Padia Rahmatullah Alayhi came to meet him. He says, Teacher Sahab, we have a jor in Newcastle. Please come. He says, I'm wondering where I'll go. Then he gave a long story of how he was inspired. He took a hike and he came. He says, I arrived at the town masjid. This Buzrug was there and he's welcoming me. He gave me someone to teach me wudu. Then he arranged for me meals and ikram. He says, don't worry, I'll take care of you. I didn't have bedding. He arranged for me bedding. He says, I couldn't sleep. It was my first night in the masjid. As I'm wondering, I'm thinking, I'm deliberating. Anyway, I dozed off. I wake up in a shock at 2 or 2:30. There's someone bitterly crying. I had to find the source. Where's this happening? Where's this happening? And I see it was the same pious man crying. So I'm wondering, did someone trouble him? Did someone disturb him? Did someone hurt him? Is there some trouble or challenge in his life? And as I go forward to tap him on the shoulder to say, brother, I'm here for you. What's troubling you? What can I do for you? The way I heard his bitter cry and his pain and his sob as I was about to tap him, I'm hearing that he's talking to Allah. I didn't even know you can talk to Allah. I didn't even know. He says, I didn't know wudu, namaz. Where I'll know about talking to Allah. And as I was about to tap him, he's taking people's names and making dua for him. Where this comes from? Allah's beloved sunnat. Ya Allah, give Umar bin Khattab hidayat. Ya Allah, give Hakim bin Hizam hidayat. Ya Allah, give Urwa bin Mas'ud Thaqafi hidayat. Allah's Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to take people's names and make dua for them. This is what it is. Dawat and Duaa. Dawat and Duaa. This is what Ijtima is teaching us. To cry for our children. To cry for our youth. To cry for our women folk. To cry for our mothers. What is happening to them? The forces of batil is indoctrinating them. As our elders say, Agar hum da'i nahi honge, to mad'u banenge. We don't give dawat. Lam nakun du'at. Nasir mad'uween. We will take effect from the dawat of the forces of batil. Dawat will protect us from that. He says this man is crying and taking, then he's crying. He didn't even know I'm behind him and he's saying, Allah, teacher Sahab tried hard and he came and he sobs and he says, Allah, don't let him go back empty-handed. I'm wondering. He says years later when I went to my town, I'm trying to make an effort in one area in Durban. My own relatives came to me and they tortured me because I was going out in Allah's way. Then the next day someone came to me and said, you see, this is going to happen to you. And when you're going to die, no one going to carry your kanda. No one will carry you. So I'm telling him, that what you mean? What if I don't die here? What if I die somewhere else? He said, I'm wondering what to tell him. Then I'm telling him, no, I'll never leave this Mubarak work. I was walking past the masjid hearing the adhan. Never did you all tell me. I was going towards mandir getting food from there. It was this work that brought me. How can I turn my back on this work? What a work that changed us. What a work that brought deen to our country. Study the history of South Africa. Let's appreciate this Mubarak work. The Ijtima is coming. This is not just putting toilets and tents and then we'll be there. What about talking to one person and saving one person's iman? Hazrat Umar says to Ayyash, please Ayyash, don't go back. You worried about money. I got money. I'll give you half of everything I own. What Sahaba were prepared to do to save one person's iman? Umar, don't go. Ayyash, don't go. He still went. When he went back, study the incident, Hazrat Umar writes to him. That youngster who used to attend, he used to come from Sham, come to Medina. So many thousands of people coming to Masjid al-Nabawi. Hazrat Umar is worried. Where's that youngster from Sham? He was not there. Hazrat Umar found out. He joined bad company. They started taking intoxicants. Hazrat Umar says to his Sati, please write this for me. And he writes to him the first verses of Surah Al-Mu'min. Check it up. Chapter 40. When this man receives the letter, he's reading. Hazrat Umar is telling his Satis, make dua for him. Ud'u Allah li akhikum. أي يتوب الله عليه وأن يقبل بقلبه. Make dua for him. Allah change his heart. Make dua for him. Allah change his heart. Some months later when he came, Hazrat Umar says to his Satis, brothers, when the Mashura is taking place, sit a little while. What is happening there is not a private discussion. It's how can one person get hidayat? How can one person get saved from Jahannam and go to Jannat? Hazrat Umar says to them, هَكَذَا فَفْعَلُوا. Aisa, this is how you do it. One person, when he goes astray, don't help shaitan against him. وَلَا تَكُونُوا أَعْوَانًا لِلشَّيْطَانِ عَلَيْهِ. Help him. إِذَا زَلَّ فَسَدِّدُوهُ وَوَثِّقُوهُ وَلَا تَكُونُوا أَعْوَانًا لِلشَّيْطَانِ عَلَيْهِ. That one man in Medina, he wasn't here for Fajr. Hazrat Umar's time, Sulaiman bin Abi Hathma. Hazrat Umar went to his house, knocked the door. Sulaiman's mother opens. Ma, where's Sulaiman? Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen, whole night he was in tahajjud. He didn't make it. He dozed off at the time of Fajr. Hazrat Umar left a message that one salah with Jamaat is more important than the whole night's tahajjud. My point is, one man not there, Hazrat Umar goes to make that fikr. Brothers, elders, beloveds, this is what the Ijtima is about. To bring us back to our work. قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي. Surah Yusuf, ayat number 110. You check it up. Ye mera rasta hai. This is my way. Hadihi. Go into the beauty of the verse. Hadihi and sabili. Muannath with mudhakkir. How beautiful. Hadihi sabili. Ye mera rasta hai. This is my way. Whose way? Our beloved's way. Ad'u ilallah. I'm a da'i ilallah. I'm a da'i ilallah. Ala basira. With wisdom, insight, conviction. Ana, ye mera kaam hai. Wa man ittaba'ani. And whoever follows me, ye iska bhi kaam hai. This is his work. Not only Muhammad ﷺ's work, not only Sahaba's work, not only ulama's work, Dr. Saab, lawyer Saab, entrepreneur Saab, Maulana Saab, Sab Saab. This is our responsibility. Kuntum khayra ummah ukhrijat linnas. تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. And we'll finish with one statement of Hazrat Umar. You know what he said about this ayat? He says, you want to be from this ummat? مَنْ سَرَّهُ أَن يَكُونَ مِنْ تِلْكُمُ الْأُمَّةِ. You want to be from this ummat? فَلْيُؤَدِّ شَرْطَ اللَّهِ مِنْهَا. Iska shart pura ada kar do. Fulfill the shart of this ummat, which is dawat. تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. Allah give us tawfiq. وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ. Allahu Akbar. The most important thing about this whole fikr, tomorrow there's a fikr in Masjid Siddiq. Don't think I sent a message, it's finished. This work is, that you can do, but this work is talk to every person, mouth to mouth, verbally, person to person. Tell every person about this jor, about this fikr. Otherwise our youth won't come there. Pick him up like Hazrat Umar did. Come my friend, come. Pick him up, make his ikram, take that youngster for coffee, take him for ice cream, then bring him there for the jor. Try everything to bring one person there. Sab karenge inshallah, all will try. Allah give us tawfiq. Ji, faddal ya.